We asked storytellers to select a type of story and some words to inspire the stories that they tell.
Once upon a time, there was a watchtower, and in the watchtower sat a guard. His name was Timothy. Timothy sat in the watchtower with a very tall hat and a very little child. The little child's name was Yona, and Yona was his daughter. And they stayed up at the top of that watchtower their whole lives. Below them was the rest of the castle, where there were people who talked and danced and laughed, and Timothy and Yona could hear them. And Yona always said, "What's going on down there? It sounds like so much fun." And he said, "Don't worry, we're staying up here." And then Timothy would stand on guard in the watchtower, and he'd look down at this vast green land, and in the distance was a forest, and on the other side of the forest was a lake. And when Yona was tall enough, she stood next to him and looked down too, and she said, "What's all that down there? It's amazing." And he said, "Don't worry about that. We're supposed to stay up here." But Yona was getting older, and she was getting more curious, and the laughter was getting louder, and the fields were getting greener, and she just had to know what else was going on out there. And Timothy said, "Please do not go. Don't you understand? It is our job to keep watch. The only time we're ever supposed to interact with anyone else is when we see danger coming to us. That means these are the circumstances where we can reach out to someone else. If we see an army coming with their horses and their swords and their pitchforks and their torches, we can reach out to someone if we see a dragon coming. We can reach out to someone if we see a witch. Those are pretty much the only circumstances. Oh, if there are cannons coming, and like any time we think that we're in mortal danger and that the people below us are, that's the only time when we're even allowed to talk to anyone else. The rest of the time, it's us up here." I know you're wondering, if they're not interacting with anyone down there and they're never leaving, how are they getting food? Like, how are they living up here? There was a dumbwaiter. I love a dumbwaiter. There was a dumbwaiter, and the people downstairs would send up food, and when they were finished eating, they would send the empty dishes down, because it was their job to stand guard all the time. And eventually, Timothy taught Yona, okay, this is how you look out of the telescope, and this is how you operate the emergency protocols. And he taught her everything about guarding the watchtower. But she just needed to understand what the laughter was about. And then one night there was music, and she just had to know. Like, not only was it people singing, but there were instruments, and she could hear them all. And there was all these smells of amazing food coming up to them. And in the dumbwaiter, there was like a little tray of some of the scraps from what must have been an enormous feast, because you could just smell everything. You could smell like all the roasted vegetables and the peach pie and everything great. And Yona had grown up at this point, but not that, she was still kind of short. And Timothy just wouldn't let her go. And she said to herself that night of that party, she said, "I don't know what he's so afraid of, and I don't know what's down there, but I have to know." And so after they put their dirty dishes down, and after they hoisted up the dumbwaiter to get their dessert, and while Timothy was out looking, at the fields to see if anyone was coming in to attack the party. Yona sat herself into the dumbwaiter. She had to fold herself up into like a tiny little ball. And she got into the dumbwaiter and she put all her weight on that rope and all her weight on the bottom so she could go down. And as the door of the dumbwaiter opened, she looked out and she saw all these candles and all these dancers and all this food and fun and life. And she walked out of that dumbwaiter and she partied.